How's everyone doing? I see Ponga in the chat. It says late. It's 4 o'clock on the dot right here, right now, and I'm live. So I think I'm good to go. Make sure I have audio. Sounds like I do have audio. Yeah, we got a couple new emotes in there, I think. We got the Monocle Dan. Shout out to Ernesto, Spicy Boys TV, for hooking me up with the emotes. I've got a CGC return. I've got some purchases. Some other purchases were supposed to be here today, but didn't make it yet. It's been a it's been a hectic day. Busy week. Busy's good though. Busy's good. I have so many cards I've got to get out to PSA and some to BGS, some to CGC. Feel like I'm just getting behind, and I keep buying stuff. Like I say, I shouldn't. Can we get a cash grab t-shirt? Need to see it. I was, for anyone who watched Poke Flips last night, I was sporting the Green Shiz apparel. And I might do something like that if there's any interest. It was really funny. I was wearing that shirt this morning, actually. Appreciate you, Skya, for joining the membership and then gifting 5. But yeah, I was wearing the Green Shiz merch, and my daughter pointed at it and said, she said ice cream. She said ice cream cone. She thought it was a green ice cream. Then my son was like, nope, that's green poop. Hoodies now, take my money. We'll see. I have it on my list to look into the merch type stuff. It's probably going to be at least a few weeks if I had to guess, before I can get into that. It's that time of year, tax time, the time we all know and love. I just got my estimated what I'm going to owe the IRS earlier today, so I'm letting that sink in and trying to figure out how I'm going to pay off that big bill in the next 3 weeks. So the money's there. It just hurts to see it go. But yeah, as I usually do for these things, I'm going to go 90 minutes. Normally my quitting time is 4:30. I didn't have a sitter today, so I'm running a little later than normal. I'm going to run 4 to 5:30. Give the full 90 minutes. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them. I did not consume my normal multiple hours of Pokemon content for the day, though I was live until midnight last night. Feel like I probably missed out on some big news, though I did see, I'm surprised no one mentioned it yet, but I saw that just in time for me getting my CGC metal cards back, PSA is now grading metal cards. So yeah. I think like the Charizard I sent out just out of curiosity, it has a big paint chip there. I knew it was gonna score poorly, but I was wondering how poorly. I'm assuming that would be like an 8 at PSA, so that probably wouldn't be any better to have sent there. These were both kind of rough. I just sent them more out for my curiosity. My pre-grades, I don't really pre-grade generally, but if I had to have guessed what the grades were going to be when I sent them out, I would have thought they were both 8s. Maybe an 8.5 on the Pikachu because it didn't have the big paint flake like the Charizard. But yeah, PSA's grading those now. I don't really have any. I don't have any to send out, so I'm not making any big plays off that. But I do have a ton of stuff. I've got to get sending. Yeah. Not gonna lie, grabbing cash is not rando friendly. Yeah, it's probably people don't understand the meme, I guess, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'll probably start. I showed you my metal CGC returns. These slabs are hefty. I mean, obviously the cards have a lot more weight to them, but the slab's a little bit thicker than the normal slab. And then obviously you've got the additional weight of the metal. These things, these could do some damage. Set those aside. let me show off a little, constantly getting in new consignments. Consignments are going really well. I do intend to do like a revamp on the fee structure in the coming months, and I intend to give a little bit more of a push behind it, but I'm waiting at least a month or two until I get fully caught up on all my, hopefully, fully caught up on all my own stuff. But yeah, let me show off this recent submission that just landed, just hit my eBay the other day. Pretty nice thing about a lot of the consignments are they're fairly like atypical inventory for me. A lot of times they're like Japanese mid-era stuff that I don't really ever get, some different Japanese promos. Sometimes there's some overlap with my own inventory, and I just price it at the same or slightly better than my own. But yeah, this had some pretty cool stuff. There were already a couple. There was one card that sold. There was a Alt Art Blue Sky Stream Dragonite V Alt Art that sold this morning. But other than that, this is the whole batch that just came in. Got a nice Psycho Drive to us English folk. Next Destinies, I believe that Mewtwo was. Got a PSA. I think this is a Pop 10, PSA 10, Unleashed pre-release Blastoise. Pretty interesting kind of niche thing. You don't really see that often. Then you've got the Next Destinies Full Art Mewtwo in PSA 10. And then you've got a nice Dragon's Exalted, I believe it was. Dragon's Exalted Mew. Japanese. PSA 9. So yeah, there's a little consignment that just came in. Why don't we just look at cards to start? Let's look at cards, and then we'll head back to chat and see if there's any questions. This was news to me a little while back. I don't think there's a ton of value here, but I thought it was pretty interesting that they graded the insert card that came in the world's competitor packs. You'll see that I got some rough grades, but I also got like one really good one. I didn't really pre-grade these too heavily. I was just pretty interested that they did this. This is only a small batch of the insert cards that I have. So I just wanted to get a few up in varying grades, see if there's any money there, any margin there. I'm a hoarder, so I never threw these out. A lot of people, when they open the pack, probably just threw these out. But yeah, I got an 8 there, a 7.5 there. Tells you a little bit about the quality control, because most of these packs I opened myself, and they went immediately into a sleeve and card saver. But look at that. You got a perfect 10. Perfect 10, 2019, Washington, D.C. This was probably one of the packs that I bought when I bought my number 3 trophy. I mentioned before the story when I bought my number 3 Full Art Pikachu trophy that I still have. I bought that competitor's sealed festival pack as well as several from people that were in the room hanging out at the same time. You got a Gem Mint 9.5, another Gem Mint 9.5. So my 2019s did pretty well, except for that one, 7.5. And then we get into some Topps Johto foils, Series 1. The silver foils. I'm not like huge on Topps. I'm not a big Topps guy. But they are like a quite scarce box compared to the Topps Series 1, Topps Series 2, even the Topps Chrome, I think. The Johto series boxes are quite a bit more scarce, hard to find. So I graded all the silver foils that I had from years ago opening a couple of these boxes. Grades are pretty rough overall. I think anything 8 and up is pretty reasonable. There is, I guess I can go through it really quickly. These are all the sub 8s, so these are all like the bad failures. I saw some of these had really bad corners, and I just like sent them. You can see on this Xatu, the corner was actually like separating some. Well, maybe you can't see it. The corner was actually like separating a little bit, and I just maybe pinched it together a little bit, and it still got hit with the 5. I think that was the main thing to it. But yeah, I guess on the back end, it has a pretty nice crease there on the corner. So this first stack is all the big misses. These will probably be like barely getting the grading fee back. I don't know what they would have done raw. They're super niche. There's not too many raw sales of these out there. If you search eBay for Johto Series 1 silver foil, completed listings, raw or graded, there's just not much out there. Super, super niche thing. But I'll price it. I mean, my cost basis is the grading fee. Again, I probably couldn't have gotten much raw. So these are just the kind of things that are probably going to go up there. Pick some margin. Obviously, for the bigger species, the higher grades, I'm going to set a higher margin. but I'm just gonna pick some random margin, throw them up there. If any Hoot Hoot collector wants an 8.5, come find it. The Togepi, like the 9 Togepi, that might do something decent. We'll have to see. But these are not going to be auctions. These would probably get destroyed in auction. There actually has been a couple sales in auction, and these are just like way too niche for their own good, in my opinion, for auction. We've got one last tall stack of more 8+s. Really cool art on some of these. Really cool, just scenes from the anime. They actually call them screen caps. So yeah, they're screen caps, just literally frames from the anime. I guess I'll go landscape mode for these ones. Heracross versus Mecha Pinsir. We're switching left and right. I don't know. Do they go by the back? See, I don't know if they go by the back or the front, but apparently they go in different orientations. Kind of weird why they did that. But it is what it is, I guess. Let's see what else we got here. This is the last stack, so there's not like it's not the whole day is not going to be this return. It's just going to be what we've got right here. Appreciate the membership support. I see Sam, member for 1 month. I don't think I can highlight those. Hunter Haas, member for 2 months. Sorry, 2 months. Got the Pillow Swine, and then we got the Steelix. So that's all the returns. Just some really niche things. I think I've mentioned it before in various live streams, various office hours. My plan for CGC moving ahead is probably going to be less than 10% of my total grading volume. It's going to be more niche plays. It's going to be like damaged cards, just things that aren't optimal for PSA. I think PSA has a really tough time with all the variants of tops. I think CGC does a good job with that. And yeah, there are times where like you can optimize a PSA 3 card into a CGC 6, like I did with that base first Charizard. And there are plays. I think anyone that fully writes off any grading company is just, I mean, it's fine. Like if you don't like a certain grading company and you don't want to use them, that's perfectly fine. But for me as a business trying to optimize my sale price on items, at the end of the day, like I'm selling the card, but a lot of people are buying the plastic. So I think every grading card company has its niche, has its plays. Josh said the same thing, Nick. I'm starting this one later because I had no sitter today. I've been starting them at 3 to 4:30 has been my regular for at least a few weeks now. That's going to be my standard. But today's 4 to 5:30 just because I didn't have a sitter today. So let's see if I build up a backlog of any questions. Feel free to leave questions in the chat. I'm just going to hang out until 5:30 p.m. Eastern, do a little bit of a Q&A. I've got some more stuff I can show if we get to it. But if the chat gets lively and I get caught up in questions, I don't really have anything I have to show either. Better art than Moonbryon on the Umbreon emotes. We got the Monocle Dans in chat. I don't know why. I don't know if my left click is stuck or what's going on. Going through this chat, it keeps like right clicking on me, trying to mute people. How's it going, Shadowless Tony? Yeah, this is gonna be annoying because it keeps right clicking on everyone. Waiting for the Moonbryon content. Moonbryon is not back yet. I do have a Moonbryon out at PSA. I will show that off in a live stream when it comes back. I don't know if I'm going to sell it. That might be one of my mementos from Orlando. We'll have to see. I might have to own the key investment piece of our era. Time to slack off at work. Thanks, Dan. I think that's a typical thing. Throw me on in the background and just cruise through the end of the workday. We're gonna be pretty mild, like most of my live streams, L-dubs. I guess sometimes the lights in the background do go red. Sometimes we do get a little bit riled up. But today is probably gonna be an easygoing blue and orange kind of day. We'll see. The CGC feels nice. Got mine back last week in time for the prices to tank. Yeah, that's always fun. C Dan grades everything too. It's not just me. ZNG Emporium pinched it together. Oh man. See, look at that. I got a bid. I got a bid getting me out at a slight profit. I got $25 bid on the Fampy. I think they'll move eventually. If you're actually interested, feel free to hit me up. I don't remember what the Fampy was, but I feel like it's an 8.5 Fampy. That's probably a very fair offer. Sky, that one guy says, question, extremely reputable buyer says his item was not delivered, even though tracking shows delivered. He is asking for a refund. What do you do? It's going to sound cold maybe, and I think somebody has already been saying it in chat. Your job as a seller is not to ensure that the item gets into the customer's hands. You have no way of knowing that. You have no way of verifying that. Your job as a seller is to get the tracker, is to get the delivery company to mark it as delivered. What happens from then on? Porch pirates, somebody in the house stealing the package, somebody misplacing an item. None of that is on you. Like, you have no idea what could have happened after the delivery company marked it delivered. First thing I would do, I would not get accusatory. I would not be like so cold as to just say, well, that's your problem. I would say, check with housemates, check with your delivery person, check with neighbors. It's kind of like a generic copy paste thing that I have. Check with a few people, wait a day or two, because sometimes USPS, sometimes UPS, sometimes FedEx will accidentally mark things delivered a day early, especially with eBay standard envelopes. I don't know if this is a first class priority mail, eBay standard envelope. I don't know what this is exactly. But I just do a generic copy paste. Hey, I'm sorry to hear that. Check with housemates, check with neighbors, check with your postal delivery person, and get back to me. Get back to me. I always leave the ball, like I put the ball back in their court. I say, let me know. Let me know how you make out. It should show up soon. Sorry to hear that. But the cold business side is more like, that's my generic copy paste reply. And at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to refund somebody. You don't know that if they're lying or not. And frankly, it's not your problem. Again, kind of cold, kind of mean, whatever. Some people might not like that, but that's the way that it is. At the end of the day, if somebody stole it, whatever it may be, they've got to go through that on their end. Hopefully they've got a doorbell camera. Hopefully they can get to the bottom of it. But 95+% of the time that I send that generic copy paste, I never hear back from them. And I get no feedback, or I get positive feedback. So it almost always ends up making it to them. I don't know what will end up happening in this instance, but you can't refund them because that just leaves you open to be a target for people scamming you. There's no further you can go as a seller than to get that delivered notification. Okay, Sky says he did wait almost a week after delivery scan. He's got to open a claim with eBay. He's got to talk to somebody at his post office. If he has a, yeah, Ponga says the same thing. eBay shows delivery, goodbye. If he's got a doorbell camera, if he's got a doorbell camera and he sees someone taking his package from his porch or whatever, he's got to take that up with the police. That's not an eBay matter. That's not like your matter. That's something he's got to do on his end. People have to have a secure way to receive their packages. And if they don't, P.O. boxes are great for stuff like that. Yeah, Mr. Walrus says the same thing. Don't refund. He has to go through steps with USPS. You did your part. Either USPS or the police, or if he wants to open a case with eBay. Since eBay does have seller protection, I think eBay gets a lot of hate. eBay gets a lot of, oh, they're for buyers only. They treat sellers like garbage. Seller protection exists. If you are a good seller with good ratings and you have a if it's above 750, you have to have signature required on the delivery. But if it's under 750 and you just have first class delivered, eBay standard envelope delivered, they will back you up. They will deny the buyer's claim, or they will refund the buyer out of their own pocket if they deem that the best path for them. But yeah, seller protection exists and you will be covered as long as you did everything you're supposed to do. It's a bad situation, but it's like, it's not your fault either. So you can't really be held responsible for it. I'm worried about losing him as a customer over this. He has spent thousands with me and no issues otherwise. If you decide to, I mean, that could be like a valid business decision that you might make. I've never been in the spot where I've had to make it personally. But if I have someone that I know, I mean, 99.999%, they've bought from me 100 times, they've never had an issue. If I would lose them as a customer, and we're talking about a $50 card that was 80% profit margin, I might just, yeah, like there are always going to be special circumstances. That's why no broad general rules work. You can't have a rule of thumb that just universally works, because I was kind of saying universally, it's not your problem. Don't refund them. Let them figure it out on their end. But in certain exceptions, if they're a great customer, you know they're not lying, you genuinely feel bad, it might be the proper business decision to just take that L, to take that 50, however much the loss is, how much money do you make from them on an ongoing basis, and does it make sense? I mean, that's just, that's a personal decision. I've never had to do it. I've never had a circumstance like that happen. Delivery companies are great. Very infrequently do they actually have issues. So, it'll be interesting. I guess follow up and let me know what you decide to do. I don't know if you care to share so many details, but like, how much was the item? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to share, but those would be the considerations I'd make. Theoretical scenario where it was a $20 card, and this is a person that buys 5 $20 cards from me a week, and I expect them to be buying 5 $20 cards from me a week into eternity for the next year, multiple years, whatever. Absolutely. Like, just refund them if it's a small amount proportionally to how valuable that customer is to you. One thing I would still have a little concern for, though, is if it is a porch pirate situation, whatever it may be, you might be on the hook for refunding the next few too now. If it is an issue that is going to recur, now you've set the precedent that you're going to refund them, and how many more times might it pop up? That was one thing that I would be concerned about. But if it was just like USPS machine ate it, somehow it got marked as delivered, I don't really know. Very interesting conversation though. Thanks for bringing it up. Catch 'em all collectibles. Question: is it worth it looking into HTML script item descriptions for eBay? I have no idea. I don't really know much about coding and fancy things like that. All my descriptions are just plain text. I'm sure it's probably not like a super complicated thing. I could probably do like a YouTube video and learn a little bit about what could be done with that, but it's not something I do. It feels excessive to me for the average consumer, because as far as, I mean, I've been selling for going on 19 years on eBay now. I don't think people read descriptions. You're lucky if they read the whole title, and you're lucky if they even look at the whole first photo for more than a second, from my experiences. So it feels like for the general consumer, it wouldn't even be noticed, but who knows? If that's confusing, okay, I should have checked for the elaboration. If that's confusing, it's those unique item descriptions professional stores use that show zoomed in pics and recommendations for other items in your eBay store. If it's tying in other items in your eBay store, like it's probably going above and beyond. Worst case, it can probably only benefit you, right? If there's a consumer, if there's a buyer that doesn't look, it's not going to hurt. If there's a buyer that does look, they might like that extra touch. They might like that extra little bit. How much time does that take? Is it worth the extra effort? Those are questions that I don't know the answers to. It's an interesting thing though. I'm probably going to stay plain text. I sell a lot plain text. Aaron McGlynn says, in your opinion, what is the second most liquid TCG in terms of graded cards? Number one being Pokemon. I know in Magic, there are quite a few graded Magic cards, but Magic is generally more of like a playable thing. I've consigned a fair bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, I sell Metazoo graded cards, but they're a tiny fraction of the liquidity of Pokemon. I would imagine Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic are both much more liquid in general than Metazoo. And Flesh and Blood is there. There's a lot of TCGs there. We kind of talked about different TCGs last night on Pokeflips. Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe? I don't know. I don't know if Yu-Gi-Oh! would exceed Magic in graded liquidity. but it's probably very dependent on the era, dependent on the card specifically. Nick has a good point too that I'll skip down to. Majority of eBay purchases are through the mobile app. An app basically hides descriptions, so I wouldn't put too much time and effort into the descriptions. I'd imagine too, if you have an HTML description that's optimized more for desktop, they probably don't even look great on mobile, or maybe they do. I don't know. That's a guess. But I have been looking more into my eBay metrics lately than I ever had prior, and I want to say that 75 to 80% of my purchases, my buyers purchase through the app. That is a metric that you can actually find in your detailed seller reports. Unless that's just the ones that the eBay rep was sending to me. I think you can find it on your own. But yeah, that's pretty interesting because all my eBay shopping, probably 90% of my eBay shopping, my eBay browsing is all done on the desktop, but not too surprising to hear that it's pretty common for the app. I guess 75-80% was higher than I would have guessed, but at the end of the day, yeah, that's probably a good point Nick makes. Yeah, let me know, Jake. Definitely open to selling that. Yeah, Jacoby 22. One thing that is true, the USPS has far less or misdelivered packages than people think. They are very good. I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's pretty common that USPS gets more hate than they deserve. Maybe I've always lived in really good branches, really good locations where I haven't had the issues. But my little small town shops, my little small town post offices that I work with have always been great. The clerks and all that. And then just the general, the system as a whole, very, very small amount of package issues over the years. They definitely do mark stuff delivered though before they deliver it. It happens a lot with the eBay standard envelope. It does happen periodically though with even first class packages. I'll get somebody saying, "Hey, it's marked delivered. I didn't receive it." I don't know if it's a clerk or somebody, a delivery person at the local branch that clicks the wrong button. Whatever happens, I don't know how or why, but 95% of the time I send that copy paste message and I never hear back. How are we doing today, Pokey fam? Doing very well, Cam. How are you? Wise Dan asks, do you feel your background is almost done or more to display? I think I talked about rotating things out more often, and I need to get better with that, periodically changing things up. But as far as like putting more things in, I think I have the space well filled. It almost feels a little bit noisy, maybe a little bit too cluttered. I see now, Wise Dan. I didn't even catch the avatar at first. One of my alt accounts, so I'm asking myself questions for me. But yeah, it's like, how much more stuff can I cram in here behind me? I've got some tape back here. It's I should thematically for the video. I should thematically like cycle things through. I'm just probably never gonna be great about it, and I really do like everything behind me right now. I like how it looks right now. I like how it's set up. Maybe a little more sitting cuties. Maybe get rid of some of the Pokeballs and stuff. We'll see. Sky says it was a $111 PSA 10. I have very little into it in terms of cost. He is a consistent bidder on my weekly eBay auctions. Appreciate the response, Dan. Yeah, so it comes down at the end of the day, like, maybe eBay would even do something. There have been weird times where somebody opens a case against me, seller protection kicks in, and eBay doesn't take it from me, but eBay refunds the buyer. So maybe eBay would stomach that as a cost of doing business, but that could leave a sour taste in your buyer's mouth. In a perfect world, the buyer wouldn't hold you accountable for it because you're not, but that's just the way that it works sometimes. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's your decision. Do a quick search, see how much you've sold to them, see if it makes sense. It probably would, honestly, if you do that, the big concern I have is if it becomes a recurring problem. But if you do that and it doesn't, you probably have like a lifetime customer that just is really pleased with that interaction, and they see that you like care for them and refunded them out of your own pocket for something that wasn't your fault. That's probably a very like optimistic scenario. I just hope it wouldn't turn into a recurring issue and then you're confronted with not just $111 one time, but next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, it's 4 or 5 packages. It's yeah, I don't know. Glizzy gang in the house. The green shiz. Cam just says, I stole a $111 PSA 10 off someone's porch. Best way to sell it. Question for Kai. Thoughts on the hobby? I enjoy the hobby greatly. I turned the hobby into a business, but I still do still participate in all things Pokemon. I play some of the games. I play Pokemon Snap. I'd love to get back into Scarlet Violet. I would love to get back into the main series games at some point. I have a massive backlog of games I'd love to play. So I'm bullish on Pokemon as a hobby, not just cards, not just just Pokemon as a whole as a hobby. Bullish. South Florida Supra says we overcomplicate things. The world isn't like black and white. A lot of times people just want absolute answers. This is the way and this is the only way every time. But most of the world lives in shades of gray, right? That's just the way that it is. People don't like it. You just want easy rules of thumb. Do X, Y, Z, and you'll succeed. But a lot of the world just exists in those shades of gray, that nuance, that pros and cons. There's always pros and cons with everything, right? Like there's very rarely is there just an absolute clear, this is the only way to do it. Because if you take that way, there are customers that you could lose over taking that way. And some would argue that's a customer worth losing. I would lean that way. If someone's going to leave me as a customer because the tracking showed delivered and I didn't give them money for it, I would lean towards that person's a customer worth losing. But I don't have the context. I don't have the relationship that Skye has with that customer. So it's hard to say. I can't say for anybody. There are definitely friends that I have in real life that I've shipped stuff to. There are definitely not really coworkers, but there are people in this space that I consider close friends that I do business with, that if they said like, hey man, that card, it marked delivered, I don't know what happened, I would do something to make it right. There are definitely people that I would do something for if I would know they weren't lying to me. Question: when pricing low pop, mid high end cards with little to no recent sales data, how do you go about pricing these cards? Example: Champions Festival 2014 PSA 10 Japanese. Just because I know what's happening with Champions Festival PSA 10s Japanese right now, I would go very high out of an abundance of caution. The first thing I think about though with this though is generally speaking, the older ones are a little bit more valuable than the newer ones. But the species really matter. I don't know well enough to know off the top of my head what trio is on the... I'm just going to pull it up. But I should know because that's the year that I bought my number 1 Pikachu from, and I actually have a Champion Step 2014. I don't... Yeah, that has like Vivillon. That has Vivillon, Froakie... Is Tepig hiding in there? It's got the Psyduck boat. I don't think that's like 2016 is the standout year because it has the Kanto starters. There are certain years that just do better. I would price it really high. I mean, I know that the PSA 10 2016s were selling for like $8K. I would look at the pops, but I think the pops matter less in this mania we're currently in on these cards. I would price high in OBO. I would price high and let people come to me. Is high 10K our best offer, or is it 5K our best offer, 15K our best offer? I would have to look more to get to that determination. I haven't sold one of these in probably over a month now, and the prices were moving like crazy. I would look at the most up-to-date pricing, and then I would just set a price point. Part of me too is like knowing what I have into it and knowing what I'm willing to take for it, because at the end of the day, the only way the transaction is going to happen is if you're comfortable taking that amount for it, right? Don't put yourself in a scenario where you price it at 15K OBO and then you regret that the next one sells for 4K and then 3K, 2K. It might go down, right? The amount that these things have just gone on fire and gone up like crazy. It's just a balancing act. How much do you need the cash flow? How much do you like the card? So many considerations. And as the owner of the card, you have way more say in that than I do, right? I mean, I can guess off the data points for other similar years, but at the end of the day, like the owner and the buyer have to come to that conclusion. DBS. Oh, Weiss and DBS are big, big. DBS, I have a decent amount. I think the prices have just gone down quite a bit recently. I need to revise my pricing or send out offers or something. I have a fair bit of DBS slabs, like a few dozen, not like hundreds or thousand or anything. Very, very small data set that I'm looking at, but I sold a decent bit there at the start, and then the prices were coming down pretty big as far as I could see. But yeah, whether it's Weiss, DBS, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, I just have no idea. There's so many TCGs out there. New Magic doesn't grade well generally either, especially the foils. They come out of the pack in terrible condition. Yeah, on a roll this week. I have my weekly live. Pokeflips is every other week. Other than that, I haven't had like a special. I did the Rip and Ships. Was that last week? Overall, I probably average 1.5 to 2 lives a week. I don't think it's ever more than 2. Maybe it's been 3 a time or 2, but live pretty often. USPS is god tier. Yeah, I'm very bullish on USPS. They get a lot of hate, but I'm a believer. I think they're undervalued, underappreciated. Thoughts on PSA reopening metal card grading? I talked about it very briefly. Perfect timing, as I just got these in. I literally got these in today. Let me show them again quick. I just got these in today. The Charizard was not going to be like a PSA 10 contender. It had a big chip of paint. The Pikachu didn't feel great either. I honestly thought I was going to get like an 8.5 on the Pikachu and then maybe an 8 on the Charizard. I'm not going to crack these and go for PSA. I don't have any more raw ones though. Someone had asked me before. I had said that I wouldn't have been surprised if PSA never reopened metal card grading. It seems like a weird thing to put too much R&D into, but I guess if they become a recurring release, they've got the Arceus ones, they've got the Pikachu and the Charizard, they'll probably make more. So it probably makes sense. At the end of the day, it looks like they use just an inner sleeve, CGC at least. I'm assuming PSA does the same. As long as the inner sleeve is tight enough, it should hold the card from stuff from flaking off. Because the main concern that I said was like, who knows what just general atmospheric conditions are going to do to this probably fairly cheap paint job that Pokemon did with these cards. And I just worry. I don't actually worry that much. It's not like I'm like losing sleep over it. But if I were the grading company, I would worry to some extent about just general environmental degradation to the paint over time and how bad of a customer experience that would be if 10 years from now, all these things are just flaking like crazy in the case. The sleeve is, I don't know if the sleeve is like how tight it's fit. I don't know if it's like actually sealed, but at the end of the day, they probably have a better idea of what they're doing than I do just theorizing about it. So they went for it. It's interesting. Is that going to push the prices up on the metal cards? Probably to an extent. Is that going to push the price up on that, the sealed product? To an extent, probably, right? I mean, more should get opened because people will be trying to get the PSA 10s, CGC 10s, things like that. So yeah, that's my general thought. At the end of the day, I really do like the metal cards as a product. I really do like the heft of them. I wish they were a bit nicer quality control, but I guess you just buy a high grade and then you're good to go, right? As long as it's actually in good shape. Do you add any additional padding / protection to ESE orders beyond a team bag and a top loader class / card saver? So when I do an ESE order, I literally just do, this is like a weird shaped envelope I have here for some reason, but I just do an envelope. I used to do a packing slip. Squeaks, Old Skool Pokemon, a bunch of guys have me no longer doing packing slips. But like here's a DBS card I've got right here. If I were shipping this DBS card, I would literally just do card saver, business card, inside of an envelope, and that's it. And then I print out my ESE on a 4x6 label printer, and I put it right over the flap. That's all I do. I don't do any packing slip anymore. The packing slip used to fold around. I don't do a team bag even, and I've never had a complaint. I don't do a massive volume. I don't do an Old Skool Pokemon volume of ESEs, but I do probably 5 a day. I probably do 5 a day, and I've never had a complaint. And it's been at least a few months, a couple months now that I've not been doing the packing slips. So Wise Dan's beard is better than regular Dan's beard. That was the solid beard by Wise Dan. Have you scheduled your revenge sealed opening party at Jake's house for this year yet? I don't. I have not yet scheduled it. I do probably want to go out at some point when they're doing the TCG trade night they do with it's Nick, Jake, and Dan TCG. I forget what I think it's in Hooksett, New Hampshire. I forget what the game store is called. If Nick is still in here, he'll probably let people know in the chat. But yeah, at some point, I think they're looking to do 3 or 4 of those a year. So maybe I'll make the trip out for a weekend when that's going on, and then I can try to crack a bunch of Jake's product. We opened an Evolving Skies booster box, so I don't even remember everything we opened. We opened My Hero Academia, we opened Harry Potter, we opened I think we avoided Final Fantasy, but we did some of the boxes are literally still like on top of my little bookshelf thing over here. I really need to get this office straightened up. Kai, I every time I know that like half the questions that I get here are memes, but if I see an opening to answer a meme question in a real way, I will. Like this one. Do I know how to jump rope? I have not jumped rope in a long time, but I do know how to. 50 Shades of Pokemon cards. Yeah, I was talking about the shades of gray. Not everything's black and white. That stream was insane. Basic Trainer has now put that to shame. I think he's gone longer than, what did we go, 8 or 9 hours? He's gone 9+ hours multiple times now. His average time is probably around 9 hours. So that was crazy though. I still remember going to bed when my wife and kids were waking up. That was pretty crazy. A lot of product was opened. A lot of alcohol was consumed. Yeah, the rigid envelopes I've seen. I think eBay has some like eBay standard envelope advertisements out around it. I want to stay under an ounce wherever possible. I know we're only talking like a dime, but if you're talking an extra dime, I'm sounding like Old Skool Pokemon now. If you're talking an extra dime for the postage and an extra dime for the packaging, that's really cutting into the margins. So Old Skool Pokemon here. But yeah, I want to do a plain white envelope that costs cents, and then I want to do the ESE for 1 ounce that costs 60 cents or less. And go there. I would think the liquidity on raw near mint would be higher than a PSA 8 for an ultra modern alt art. I generally think that a 9 is kind of like a failure. It's a failed shot at getting a 10, right? An 8 is rough. An 8, I would probably, ideally, you would pre-grade it and you would not grade an 8. But if you're stuck with a PSA 8, I think you'd be better off just cracking it. Unfortunately, you might end up selling it to somebody who thinks they're going to grade it. Maybe they get a 9 next time around, so maybe they make out better. But yeah, 8s on ultra modern, where the PSA 10 rates is like 70, 80, 90%, they're rough. They're real rough. You say Booyah says, think PSA might lower prices soon, $12.50, 10 per card. I think I'm going to beat James. I have an open bet with James, ZNG Emporium, that $10 will not be open to the public before the end of the year. I still think I'm going to win. I would not be shocked. 2 things. I would not be shocked if we see 12 or 13 on April 1st. We could see lower as soon as a week and a half from now. But they're still getting more than 1 million cards a month. They're grading 1 million cards a month, and the turnaround time on 15 right now is like, what is it, like 2 months? I mean, I just sent out a PSA submission, but for a short while there, I had nothing in PSA's backlog. So I don't have like super recent data points on turnaround time. But honestly, 10 would shock me. 10 would kind of shock me. If they went to 10 for April 1st, I would try to submit 2,500 or 3,000 cards in April, because I don't think it would last. I personally think they wouldn't get a 10 million card backlog, 15 million card backlog again. But I think they would backlog to where instead of 2 months for 15, I think it would take 3 to 6 months. And I don't think they want to do that again. I think they want to stay sub 3 months on all their turnaround time. So I wouldn't be shocked to see 1250, 13, somewhere in there. Maybe even Pokemon stays at 15 and you see like baseball season starting soon. So maybe you see like a baseball thing at 14, 13. Like maybe they do certain segments instead of opening all of it for 13, 14. But we'll have to see. 10 would surprise me. It's not impossible, but it would surprise me. And going higher than 15 would surprise me too. It would surprise me if on April 1st they said like, oh, 15's gone, now it's 18. That would be pretty surprising. I think 15 is a pretty comfortable sweet spot right now. 2 month turnaround times, sub 3 month turnaround times are nice. They don't want to get to where they're turning stuff around in a week and they're having people sit idle. They're grading 1 million cards a month. So they need at least 1 to 2 million cards at PSA at all times. They need to see a month's worth of work sitting there ready for their employees. If and when they stop seeing that, they'll open up specials for cheaper. But as of right now, it looks like they're seeing it still. So how do you come up with your name? Ash Ketchum All Collectibles. I don't know. I'm not a very inventive, original guy. I know Cam and James are going to be like, yeah, we got him. But yeah, that's how I came up with him. Have I seen the new framed artworks on Pokemon Center? We got Mr. Mime is French trying to cost me money. I might have seen these. I do look at Pokemon Center at least once a week, I would say. I don't know that I have yet, but I'm gonna look right now. I saw the graduation stuff. There's stuff for 2023 grads as it's getting to that time of year. My Pokemon Center is loading really, really slow. Maybe something just dropped and everyone's buying it out, or maybe my DSL is just DSLing. I see. I think they were posters. I think I saw posters that were framed. Peaceful Plains, Pokemon Soothing Scenes. Yeah, they're just posters, I think. I would honestly, if I wanted that framed, I'm pretty sure it's just the same. They sell 4 posters for $20, but then they sell individual posters framed for $70. So it's like a $65 frame. If I wanted that, I would just buy the poster and then put it in a cheap $5 frame. No, actually, I lied. So the posters are 8 by 10 inches, whereas the large posters are quite a bit bigger, 18 by 24. They're cool. I like them. They are nice art. I have all these. I have like 8 or 10 of these. I don't need more stuff like that, though they are cool. $70. Cheap compared to cards. So like I kind of joked about it in my last video when you put, this isn't a Pokemon card, but when you do a size comparison, when you compare the value, given the size, given how much art you're getting in surface area, good value out of these posters, good value out of the canvases, in my opinion. How many Pokemon cards do I have to flip before I stop feeling empty inside? You might feel more empty the more you flip. I don't know. Meme questions. I hope it's a meme question. I'm sure it's a meme question, but always fun to have to try to figure out how to tackle answering the meme questions. Keeps me on my toes. Okay. Pikadru's talking about Skya. Yeah, that I did not talk about making long-form Yu-Gi-Oh content, but I think that was Skya. So maybe we have a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast being born as we speak. When is the next Rip and Ship, Dan? Looking forward to getting destroyed by Evolving Skies again. I don't know how much Evolving Skies I'll have. I might not have any Evolving Skies ready for next time. Unless it comes in new products that I'm getting between now and then. I will probably do one very early April. I don't know if I'll be ready It's tough because Scarlet Violet comes out March 31st, I think. Maybe I'll just do it right on March 31st. Maybe I'll do a release day, midday stream. I'll have to see though, because a couple weeks into April, MetaZoo Native is releasing. So I'm going to do just a MetaZoo themed, MetaZoo only sometime mid-April. But yeah, I'll have to see. I would like to do one for Scarlet Violet release. Maybe I'll just shoot right for March 31st. But I'll schedule it at least a few days out. I always schedule my lives ahead of time so you can see. Check my Instagram. I'll definitely post it there too. It's always weird to me when people say, like, thanks for the feedback. Had one guy say, could have been packaged better but arrived in great condition. Was just curious if others did something different than me. As long as you're not getting extreme packaging really poorly, which some might claim that the way that I package is extremely poor for just card savored singles. But at the end of the day, like, if the card gets there in good condition, I don't know why people like get so stressed about it. I've showed it a million times, but let me show it again. The way that I ship graded slabs all the way up to $750. If you buy this is not a $750 slab, but if you buy a $750 slab from me, $745. Sometimes I'll throw it in a box, but usually I don't. I wrap it in a thin piece of cardboard, and then I put it inside of a quadruple zero bubble mailer. And then I put that inside of a double zero bubble mailer. So it's double bubble and cardboard, and I send it. People have received that from me before, and they were like, I can't believe you sent a $500 card with a flimsy piece of cardboard, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh, sorry, is the card damaged? Like, I will make this right. I can either take a return for a refund, or we can talk about a partial refund. Oh, no, the card's fine. I just can't believe you did that. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? I don't get it. If you go to the extreme, it's like, oh, I want every $50 card boxed, and I want every $500 card double boxed, and it's just kind of crazy. If the item gets to you in good shape, run it. Obviously, if someone's trying to put like a slab in a PWE and send it eBay standard envelope, somehow if USPS shines down upon it and somehow delivers that thing and it doesn't get damaged, no need to get upset. But I could see a little bit in that instance being like, what was this person doing? But yeah, people, what are we doing here? Hit them with the what are we doing? Absolutely, Mason. It's just weird. Like, if the thing, there are enough things that can go wrong in life. There are enough things to be upset about in life. Don't just, don't blow things up that don't need to be, I guess. Especially if it's someone who has thousands of sales on eBay, someone who has tens of thousands of sales, whatever it may be. They clearly have an idea what they're doing, and everyone needs to determine what their threshold is for how much they're going to spend on packaging. I've heard some people say, like, well, you could do more. Absolutely, you could do more, but doing more costs more. And these people are businesses. These people have margins to worry about. And if I've shipped 10,000 slabs and I've only ever had issues with 2 doing what I do, why am I going to spend an extra 10 cents? And honestly, like, getting a box is usually more than 10 cents. Why am I going to spend an extra 10 cents on any of my cards? 10 cents times 10,000 cards that have only 2 have had an issue. I mean, that's $1,000 I've saved, and all I've had to do was refund 2 $50 cards. Like, and honestly, one of the 2, maybe 2 of the 2, were people just receiving the slab and cracking it in their hands because they were mad at me or whatever. So I've brought that up so many times. That's come up a lot. It's a pretty common thing that comes up, but that's my opinion on it. Question for chat: if TCG Player was an eBay seller, how bad would its feedback be? I can't do impressions at all. I can't do accents. I can't do impressions. I'm a very, Nick says he wants to hear it. I'm a very robotic, mundane, boring individual with no ability to imitate. I mean, how can you imitate? How can you impersonate Nick? He's too unique. I just can't do it. Nick's intro is iconic, and I don't want to I don't want to disrespect it by giving my terrible rendition of it. Here we go. That's funny. Dan, now that you've done my request of doing an OSP intro, thanks for that. I would like to now request that you do your best impression of a Catch 'em All Collectibles intro. I'm not going to do either. If you want to see a Catch 'em All Collectibles intro, watch any of my videos because I do it in every one. I've had some people say you got to stop doing that. I'm probably not going to stop doing that because I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. Common thing. Do you think CGC will drop pricing in response to PSA? Maybe, maybe not. They grade significantly less than PSA. I think, especially people who only use PSA, they're like, how could anyone use CGC? Why would anyone use CGC? If PSA drops $2, a lot of people think, well, CGC has to. I don't think they have to. They have a different consumer base. Maybe they do. Maybe they see data. Maybe they see submissions drop. And if they do, then they will respond by dropping, I would think. But it's funny. In all the time that PSA was dropping from like 30 down to 15, CGC actually raised their prices. And I heard so many people say, oh, when PSA goes to 15, CGC is going to have to be 8 or no one's ever going to use them. CGC is 15 and PSA is 15. If you pay for the membership, you get $13.50 with CGC. They're still doing their thing. They don't grade anywhere near what PSA does. Well, 10% maybe. They grade about 10% of what PSA does. That's a big business. That's a lot of business. They're making a lot of money putting cards in plastic. Like, maybe they don't want to do 10 million a year. Maybe that's not a scale they're after. I have no idea. I think they could. I think if PSA were to drop, especially significantly, they're more likely to than if PSA were to raise prices. If PSA were to go to 20 for some reason, CGC would be less likely to drop. If PSA were to go to 10, CGC would be more likely to drop, but they don't have to. It's a different product, and they might not lose some of their consistent consumer base because some people just highly value, like mind-blowing. Some people just value the slab that much more. Like if I were a collector only, if I never sold, I would only have these slabs. I strongly prefer the product. But that's me. That's me. That's not everybody. What percent of their current business is people that are just collecting? What percent of their current business are people that value their turnaround time more than anything? Sometimes paying $13.50 to get it in a week is better than paying $12 to get it in 3 months. Many times actually. All depending. So many factors, but we'll see when we see. I've showed it a bunch of times. But I do a card saver inside of a PSA. I do have packs here. I do a card saver. I have a G.I. Joe pack near me. I have my G.I. Joe pack from Basic Trainer, so let me just show with that. If I were grading this G.I. Joe pack, which maybe I should. I just dropped it. I can't grade it now. Now it's going to be a PSA 6. If I were grading this G.I. Joe pack, not inside of the card saver. The card saver is used as backing. I would do a card saver. I don't even seal this. I just put these in one of the empty card saver box. So I send I think you can fit like 80 packs, roughly 80 packs that way. I did see, I can't believe PK manually cuts out. Like he takes something like this, or he takes a cardboard box and he physically cuts. He says he has a big cutter. He uses a big cutter to cut things to put booster packs in like this. And I'm like, don't you know card savers exist? I guess he values reusing his cardboard more than recycling it. But I value my time more, and I have a lot of card savers, so I'm just using card savers like that personally. Question for Dan. I just went through 2 days of reorganizing my bulk vintage monster boxes. How many cards would you guess you own that will never be sold due to them being low priority? I like to think that someday I'll let go of my hoard. I have I could look back at my invoices from my distributor, and I could tell you how many monster boxes I have. I probably don't want to know. They hold about 5,000 roughly, maybe a little bit more on average. I must have bought 100. I must have bought bundles 4 times. Bundles come in 25. I don't have them all assembled. I have one sealed case of bundles stashed away, and then I have a lot of unused ones. So I should have 50. I think I have 50. I think I have 50 filled. Nowhere near like what Mason has, I don't think. But that would be 250,000 cards. Most of it is just like really, really bulky stuff that I shouldn't still have. Some amount of it, I guess I shipped over the years. Sometimes, there was a time, huge mistake. I will do large flat rate boxes from now on. There was a time where I took 2 or 3 monster boxes inside of one massive box and shipped that UPS or something. It was so much money to ship it, so much more expensive than other ways I've shipped bulk before. So I guess I've shipped away. I've gotten rid of some amount of them, but not too many. I like to think though that one day I'll wise up and I'll just dump them all. If we ever get 4-cent bulk again, there'll be a lot of people looking to offload all their bulk. But yeah, 4-cent bulk, 4-cent bulk at 250,000 cards. That's still only, what is that? That's $10,000. That would be nice. That would be nice to let that all go for that. But a lot of it's probably energy cards. A lot of it's I put non-card things in there too, which is kind of a problem. Sometimes I've put packs in there. Sometimes I've put I just have towers. I have towers in a couple different places that I store stuff. Some of it's ETB sleeves. Some of it's the dice and the condition markers from ETB sleeves. A lot of that stuff ultimately went to Troll and Toad, but a lot of it also didn't. Too much stuff. Yes. Do you still use the Logitech C920X camera you have linked on your website? Is that what you're using for this live? I have 3 of them. I have one for Snorlax. Let me see if my Snorlax cam is set up. It actually isn't right now because there's a special light that I have to turn on for him. So Snorlax has that camera. I have that camera, and my desk cam is that camera. So I have 3 of them. Chicken wings or steak, you can only eat one for the rest of your life. Which is it? Honestly, probably chicken wings. I love steak. A really good steak is better than a really good wing, I think. But I think wings are a lot more dynamic. I can do a lot more different things with the sauces. Steaks are fairly dynamic too. I guess you can top them with a lot of different things, and you can do, I mean, you can do like a dry aged ribeye, and then you can do like a prime rib, and you can do fillet, and all different. There are all different kinds of stuff, but I would honestly probably go chicken wings. Question: Are you proud of yourself taking $1 for memberships here, and also taking another $1 from the PokeFlips channel? I mean, I wouldn't say I'm proud, but it is what it is, right? I mean, it's 2 different channels. If you want the memes, they're all unique memes. I'm not double dipping the emotes, at least. All emotes are unique, and they always will be. Actually, no, maybe there's one. Maybe I just lied. Wish Charmander. I think Wish Charmander is on both, so I did lie. I did lie about one. I made the best buffalo wings of my life last night. Sauce Boss. Just got here. Who authorized your overtime? No babysitter today, so this is kind of overtime, but it's also like I just started my workday too. What's the PSA announcement? The metal cards, I'm assuming you're talking about. PSA is now grading the metal cards. Just like CGC started grading a few months ago, PSA is now doing it. Here's the ones I have. I don't have any more raw except for a couple of the Arceus ones. Maybe I will find those and send those off. Any aspects of selling that you felt burned out before? Not really. There's certain things I don't like, but burnt out is like really, at least for me, burnt out is like dramatic. I've never gone so far as to feel burnt out. On a Monday, when I ran a big sale and I sent a bunch of offers and I had to package 150 shipments in one day, I've done 200 shipments in one day. I didn't overly enjoy that, but to say I was burnt out on shipping, that's a little bit much. If I ever get burnt out of something, if it's shipping or if it's responding to emails, I can't do anything about that. That's a required part of the business. Thankfully, it doesn't take that long for at least the way I'm operating. But if I ever felt burnt out, I would just do my best to pivot away from whatever that is burning me out and continue on with the things I'm enjoying more. What size envelope do you use for eBay standard envelope? Because I also want to stop cutting my thermal labels. Thanks, or if anyone in the chat knows. I used to use, I need to, I won't throw stuff away. I don't want to waste. I think it's number 10. Number 10 envelope. They're way too wide. You can fit, they're 8.5 inches long, I think. 8.5 inches long. You can fit like a folded up full sheet of 8.5 by 11. I want to get down to where it's like just a 4x6 envelope. I don't know what they're called. If they're like number 6s. I do need to look into that though. A6, maybe. A6, 4x6 envelope, like an invitation envelope. Kind of, let me see. My label printer won't give me a label. This one's a little bit bigger, but this one's close. This one's a little bit bigger. This is probably a 5x7. I want like a 4x6. I want a 4x6 envelope that comfortably fits a card in a card saver, and then the 4x6 label goes right on it. No waste, no excess. The 8.5 inch wide ones that I use, they leave a lot of extra envelope at the end, and sometimes they'll bend around the card saver because they're like double the length. It's not the best packaging, but it works. Is the simplified Chinese market something you might consider? I'm not an expert on what's simplified Chinese versus complex Chinese. I don't know what you even call it. Are these simplified Chinese? If these are simplified Chinese, then it is something I might consider because I already have some. I am gonna try the play. I'm way too late. These are like $2 to $2.50 a piece. They sell for too much in PSA 10 Black Label. I'm gonna try grading some and see if I can make money. So if that's simplified Chinese, then yes. If it's not, then maybe. I don't know. I'll have to see. But I am looking more and more. I've joked about it privately a couple times, maybe publicly too. I can never remember. I've joked about it. Every card that is pop 10,000, I want to have a hand in. I want to be grading. A lot of people talk about low pop. Give me the highest pop there is. Higher the pop, higher the liquidity, generally speaking. Usually the pop is high because the popularity is high. The amount of time it takes to source 100 of these cards, 2 minutes. The amount of time it takes to quickly go through and grade them, not to grade them, but to submit them, to cut the top off, to pull the card out, put it in a penny sleeve, card saver it, make sure there's no like massive dent, make sure there's no like over issue, and then send off 25, 50 in one chunk. My time is so low on these. And then, given that they sell for 50 or 60 in PSA 10, make a stock photo listing with 10 quantity, 20 quantity. I can sell like the entire time to grade one of these and turn it around on scale. I've got 2 or 3 minutes into each card, maybe. Say 3 minutes to be estimating high. 3 minutes into each card. Listing, fulfilling, grading, everything, all in. I can process 20 of these an hour. If I'm making $10 a card margin, that's $200 an hour. Like that's, I don't often get to work for $200 an hour, but if I can with this card, and maybe it blows up, and maybe the price goes down to 20, and maybe it goes down to where I lose money, but I'm going to give it a shot. There are more plays like this that I'm going to start giving a shot soon, and we'll see how they go. It's a pretty obvious thing. A lot of people do it. I think a lot of people will stop doing it if and when the prices go like 40 or less. But even at 40, I mean, at 40, you're looking, grading and shipping is going to be 20 a pop. eBay fees on 40 are going to be 6. You're still netting over 10. If you're netting over 10, as long as your PSA 10 rate is high, if you send and you get 6s and 7s and 8s, even 9s, I mean, you're going to want an 80-90% 10 rate on stuff like this. But when you turn a $2 card into a $40, $50 card, there's room there. There's room for decent business. Was pre-ordering Scarlet and Violet booster boxes the play before they jump in price at release? Or will they plummet in value at release and everyone will buy on eBay for the low? No idea. I do not have a crystal ball. I do not know how much Pokemon printed. I know that me personally, I've heard some people say Scarlet and Violet was tight. I got like 25% more Scarlet and Violet than I got Silver Tempest. That said, my account has grown substantially in the past year. So my account is on the upswing with my distributors, and maybe that's why I'm getting more. Maybe I'm getting more because I'm proportionally a higher percentage of their business. Other than that, all I can tell you is like the information that I know. I can't speculate on what other people will do with their pricing. I can't speculate on price go up, price go down, or print run big, print run small. All I can tell you is my allocations, relatively speaking. That's all I've got. Dan, Dan is constantly trying to impersonate a living person, so that is constant. One day my wife caught me practicing the Old Skool Pokemon intro while getting ready for work. That's hilarious. Kamau says, "Hey man, I love your content. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Anything or slabs I could get for around 60? I have a lot of stuff on my eBay. I have it's an affiliate link in the description below. But I do have I have a lot of stuff, hundreds of listings, if not several hundred, maybe 1,000 listings under $60. No need to buy through me, but if you're looking to, my eBay there is linked. And I think there's a lot of decent stuff in that price point. You can get anything from like PSA 8 WotC Hollows. You can get Ultra Modern PSA 10 Charizards. You can get everything in between. Mid-Era PSA 9, Reverse Hollows, Full Hollows, PSA 8, Old School EXs, some of them even. There's a lot of variety in that price point. I think there's a lot of decent value. Some might go up, some might go down. But yeah, they're all there if you're interested. Dan trying to not get dropped from Pokeflips. Yeah, I know. I was only his third or his fifth or his eighth choice. I forget. I don't want to get myself cut. Yeah, people think CGC is only on cards, but they're huge in comics. Yeah, I have no idea what are the shared resources between cards and comics. I have no idea overall what their picture looks like. And I think a lot of people with very little information just make a guess and run with it, which is fine. Whatever. I mean, could go down. Yeah, I mean, look at Beckett. I don't know if that's accurate pricing. I thought they were a little cheaper than 20, but A Blank is saying there's Beckett over there asking 20, even though you have to contact them on a medieval website. And if you use the website, you have to pay up front too. So yeah, it's like, I think SGC is like 25, isn't it? If PSA goes down, it would, if anything, all else equal, it would maybe be a slightly downward pressure against these other companies, but they might not have to. They have their own niches. They have their own segments of the market. The mouse says, how do you get him to answer? I do answer everything eventually, unless I miss it. I apologize. I just end up behind chat quite a ways. I'm like 15 minutes behind chat right now. Sorry for being slow, but I'll try to catch up. Give him a quarter, then he turns on. Oh man. Thoughts on grading Pokemon Center exclusive Brilliant Stars sleeves? Man. Ooh, it's probably a play. Did someone, they do grade sleeves, don't they? I don't know if I dreamt that. I don't know if it was a nightmare or what it was, but I almost feel like I saw a single graded sleeve. Maybe that was just a meme someone was talking about in a live stream. I don't even know what's real anymore. Are boneless chicken wings just glorified chicken nuggets? It is abomination that the term boneless chicken wings can even be legally used. I think it actually can't anymore with some of the big companies. Like if anyone knows Tyson, they do a lot of frozen chicken. They spell wings with a Y. I think Buffalo Wild Wings, I think went through some kind of a lawsuit, and I think they call their boneless wings something else now. But yeah, Tyson spells it with a Y. Kind of like how Kraft Singles can't call it like American cheese. It's cheese product. It's like a pasteurized cheese product or whatever, because there are like legal requirements for what you can call things when it comes to food. Does my wife watch my videos? She listens to a decent amount of them from time to time if she's like doing work. If I'm late night live, she'll just have it on in the background sometimes when she's doing work. But not all of them. Does C1V1 equals C2V2 ever get more entertaining? Yes. It's always very entertaining. Yeah, number 6 envelopes. That's what I'm gonna switch to. Number 6 envelopes so that it's a perfect 4x6. And the side that secures them, I like to put the label over the side that secures them. So like the flap goes down. We're getting into the really nitty-gritty of how to ship and pack This is more like Pokeflips content. We're talking how to flip Pokemon cards. But yeah, I like to use the, I do the same thing with these ones. I do the same thing. I fold this down and seal it, and then I overlap that a little bit. I don't throw tape over it. Some people throw tape over it. Some people tape all the edges. All that just feels so much excess to me. But I do like overlapping the label onto the flap. Just, it helps a little bit. I don't know. It might keep it from ripping open one time. I've never had an issue with that, though. Printing rate on the envelope, you have to use an inkjet, though. I can't get over that he's using an inkjet. Inkjet are just miserable with like jamming, with different kinds of issues, with the ink costing so much money. I think you're better off using a label printer. You would have to run the numbers, price it. I would be shocked if you could print right on the envelope through an inkjet for cheaper than you can just get these labels. I would be shocked. Dan, there was no options for shipping outside the US on your base set packs last week. Will this change in the future? I probably will. I thought I had it set up. I think for my cheaper ones, I think I had it set up so that $5 domestic, under 50, and then $15 international. But that might have been only under 50. I need to look into that. I'm an amateur at Shopify. I've only used it a few times. I apologize for that. I do have it written down. I have it written down somewhere else, but I'm going to write it down again. International shipping on Shopify. That was an error. I thought I had it set up where you could buy, but I failed. I apologize. Yeah, low cost, easy movers, high liquidity. Honestly, I was thinking about doing it secretly, but maybe I'll just spill the beans. I'll spill the beans on a big play I'm going to do. I mentioned I might show some more recent purchases if we get to them. Well, here's one of them. Ancient Muse. James, Z&G Emporium, sold me Ancient Muse. I bought like 400 and something. Kai was talking to Cam and James a week or two ago in one of their live streams about these Ancient Muse, and I reached out to Kai and James because I didn't want to just snake Kai and I didn't want to just steal the buy from him. But I reached out and I'm like, hey, Kai, are you interested in all? I think it was 414. Or do you want to split them? And we ended up splitting them. So I got 150-ish and he got like 250-ish. He wanted more, so I just let him have, because he was the one that was starting the deal. Anyways, I'm contemplating, I'm definitely going to grade a lot of these myself. Just to, have the inventory, have the liquid inventory. Ancient Mew, it's like there's millions of them, but it doesn't matter because people really like Ancient Mew. I want to have like quantity on PSA 10s, quantity on PSA 9s. More likely, I'll probably have quantity on PSA 6s and PSA 7s. But I'm contemplating taking like 20 randomly. I don't want to like have selection bias. I want to take 20 randomly, card saver them up, send them for consignment plus with James and Cam, and see if I make money. Because if I make money, given that I paid him whatever I paid him, 20 something bucks a piece, it's like, why didn't James, being a PSA dealer and being an eBay like contracted seller, why did he not just grade them and auction them himself? I kind of had that conversation with him a little bit as I bought them from him, but yeah, I'll be interested to just like, he literally just shipped these to me. I'm not going to ship them all back. I'm not going to YOLO them all, but to see that play that PK is making, completely hands-off passive, it is a cool service they have. But it would be funny if I were able to literally just send these back and make money off James for something that he could have done himself. I'll probably end up doing that, and maybe I'll throw in a couple meme type things. I'm not going to do anything too crazy because I don't want James to reject my submission and then ban me. But I think he'll allow the Ancient Muse through, and maybe I can get away with a couple little memes here and there. We'll see. But I probably will have a shipment to send to James and Cam for next week or the week after. We'll see if I get to it. But I'm really interested to see. I'm interested to see how PK's packs go. We talked about it a little bit earlier when I was showing how I grade the packs. For James' sake, I hope PK doesn't make a ton of money, because if he does, he might just get flooded with like packs and coins and all kinds of meme things. For PK's sake, I hope he does well, because I don't want to see him lose a bunch of money. But for for the end consumer, I'm almost hoping that he doesn't make a ton of money. Because, like, what world is this we're living in? If you can just YOLO chuck a bunch of ultra modern packs at auction and get like 50, 60, 70 bucks a pop and make money. He probably will, though. Like, it'll be either way, it's good content. It's going to be fun, good content to follow. Shout out to PK for sending that submission out. Shout out to James for putting the upfront. I mean, PK is good for it, but for fronting that 3K or whatever to grade the packs, that's pretty funny. I'm really interested to follow along on that. Are there any cards you sell that make you work minimum wage? Some of the MetaZoo cards I sell, very, very cheap. Dollar, I think $1.69 is as cheap as I go on my MetaZoo singles. I do have some Pokemon cards too. I recently listed like Versus Seekers. I recently listed Battle Compressors, I think. Trainer Ends, some random cards. But if I do the math, like I can fulfill 50 of those an hour. So if I'm netting 50 cents and I can do 50 an hour, I'm at like 25 bucks an hour. I don't think there's any work I do individually that nets me that low. That's why I don't go under. Like, I don't do the 99-cent listing like Nick does, where if they buy one, I lose money and I need them to buy two for me to make money. I try to like have everything make money. And then if they buy more than one, I just make more. But yeah, valuing your time is limited, right? Whether you have 40 hours a week you put to this, whether it's 2 hours a week, 40 hours a week, or 100 hours a week, that's all you have. Take your hourly rate, multiply it by your hours per week, and that's what you're making, right? So if you're spending 20 hours a week doing something that's paying you 10 bucks an hour, you're really limiting how much you can do. So obviously I'm trying to target more the $100 an hour, $200 an hour effective things where I'm masquerading this kind of promo or the Chinese type of promo and just doing it at scale, at volume. Nice. McNick went 16 out of 21 on 10s for the monthly special submission. Trainer gallery. Nice. Good stuff. You love to see it. Fed raised rates by a quarter point. How will this affect my PSA Unlimited Jinx investment? I am bearish on your PSA Unlimited Jinx. That said, I do not have a crystal ball. Imagine having it made to where you're dreaming of grading sleeves to flip. I could swear I saw something about that, but maybe it was just like somebody speculating about it. I remember I was in a live stream somewhere, probably with Nick, maybe it was Pokeflips, where we were talking about the ETB sleeves. I just opened an ETB. I don't see the sleeves though. If you could, some of the older ETB sleeves are actually pretty expensive, but somebody was talking about how they collected one of every ETB sleeve, like one of every Plasma Storm, like one Plasma Storm ETB sleeve in a 9-pocket page, and then Plasma Blast, XY Base, Red and Blue, Furious Fist, Phantom Forces, all those. And if you were to take and break down a 60 sleeve pack and sell it as 60 individual sleeves, and then if you could grade some of those, sell the ones raw that weren't gradable, grade the ones that were gradable. I mean, you could turn a 60-pack sleeve, especially those early ones. You could probably buy them for 50 bucks and turn them into 500, if not more. Maybe you could send them into James and Cam, straight to auction. While I'm getting bored, do you think we could talk more in depth about envelopes so I can wake up, please? Thanks. Can't wait for your and James episode. Hopefully tomorrow. I think you guys usually do tomorrow. You never know what you're going to get. I mean, I'm talking about envelopes right now. It could have been anything. Not quite as anything as it could be over on ZNG Emporium. I love the content. But they go into all different kinds of crazy stuff. Cam ends up going viral. Good stories over there. Someone offers to buy your entire eBay inventory at full price, but you have to watch them set it on fire in front of you. Do you accept their offer? Yes. I mean, it would be a shame, but at the end of the day, like, I mean, one, I could get by on the argument that like, I don't believe them. I'll believe it when I see it. So like, let me get that cash in hand. And then, oh man, I'm shocked. I can't believe they actually did it. it would be a shame. I wouldn't want to see it happen, but at the end of the day, like the amount of money that would be for my family, my future, I don't have that high of morals, I guess, to say no to that and cash out in that way, which is probably the wrong answer, but that's my answer. I'm not gonna lie to you. Dan would light the fire. Be real. Oh no, Ray, I cannot apologize enough for the polyrath. I'm sorry. Get scammed, Ray. Ray, please do not consign that through ZNG Emporium for the $15 consignment plus. Do you think you could pump our services more, please? How could you not submit to ZNG Emporium? I mean, $15 a card. It's the same grading fee you pay. You have to ship to PSA anyways, so it's not like the shipping fee to them is added because you're paying that anyways. And then they can sign it for you for 13.9%. Ideally, you should be above $100 because then you don't get hit with the $5 surcharge. But let's be honest, it's passive. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to see it. You get to hear Cam and James meme on you as they open your packages. So I really enjoy their service. If I wasn't full-time, I would be using it. If I was a chemical engineer still, I would absolutely be using their service. I'm trying to do my own thing with my own eBay. I'm trying to do buy it nows. I'm shilling their auction. I do have buy it nows. One thing they don't do, I've got to pump my own tires here. One thing they don't do, the only thing they don't do is buy it now consignments. If you have buy it now consignments you want to send to me, hit me up. There's a link in the description below, my email, my website, all my terms, $250 per item average value. Approximately. I do have quite a few consigners who have a lower average value than that, but I will do buy it now consignments with you if you're interested. Buy it now, send to me. Auction, send to them. We've got you covered on all fronts. I'm a new seller on eBay, but the lowest shipping rate I can charge is $4 to $5. Do I need to sell a certain amount of cards to qualify for the $1 shipping? I genuinely don't know what the restrictions are on new accounts. I've had my eBay account for since 04, 19 years now, which is crazy to think. But that was never really a thing back in my day. How old am I? There's all these number of listing limits, monthly selling limits. Those were never a thing. I've never really had those. Sorry, I don't really know how to answer that. I would just Google it. But I would be surprised if you couldn't sell. Oh, maybe you mean I guess not charging it on your listings. You mean paying that when you buy your postage. So yeah, it's got to be in a certain category. It's got to be eBay standard envelope. It's got to be in the TCG category. It's got to be sub $20 singles. Yeah, sub 20 singles. Sorry, I was misunderstanding what you were saying, but I would assume any account age, you should be able to add free shipping to your listings if you want. Yeah, you can't do that for slabs. Slabs, the lowest is like $4 or $5. It's pretty rough. BGS would probably grade the sleeves. They grade anything. They probably would. Cameron says, so I'm headed to a Collecticon this year, 1000%. Which ones would you suggest going to? I think they're all great. Like I think Kansas City gets some unnecessary hate. I'm sure if I were to go to that, like I would have a blast. I'm sure. I think like our little circle, me, Nick, Jake, all the guys who all the guys who went to Denver, all the guys who went to Orlando. I mean, we had different groups, guys and gals. But all the people who went to both those, I think we really like pump up the ones we go to specifically. But everyone you go to, there's going to be a ton of great people. I'm sure you'd have a blast. I'm going to Dallas and Charlotte personally, so I would lean towards my bias on those ones. I have heard Charlotte is going to be quite a few people, but people were pumping Denver as being the biggest, the best. We'll never get that many people to a Collecticon ever again. Orlando was more, I think. We had one section full in Denver. We had two sections full in Orlando. We only have one again in Dallas, but like we have tons more people that wish they got tables. Charlotte, we're talking about somewhere between 2 and 4 sections. Charlotte, there's going to be a ton of people. But there's a ton of people at all of them. The guys running Collecticon are doing a great job. I think they're all awesome. So I would say any of them. Whatever ones easiest for your schedule. People have weddings, graduation parties, all different kinds of conflicts with their personal life. So whatever one fits in your schedule and maybe closer to you, a more ideal travel, if there's one that you could drive to. If there's one that I could drive to, I would be heavily biased towards that, but there's not for me personally. And we get a Polyrath emote in honor of Ray. I don't want to relive that every live stream. I felt physical pain when I opened that. Dan, someone offers to buy your entire eBay store at 150% the price, but you had to spend it all on MetaZoo boxes, which you had to break and sell as singles. No grading. You doing it. That's a lot of MetaZoo boxes. Can I hire people to help me break the boxes? Because honestly, I probably would. Or do I have to buy it at map? Do I have to buy it at map here? Do I have to buy like UFO at map? Because then that gets really rough. But if I can buy at partner pricing the brand new set or any of the older sets, I'd have to run the numbers. I'd have to get back to you. I'm ending soon. I see it's 5:31. I'm running a little bit of overtime already. But yeah, I'm going to be wrapping up soon. As always, I appreciate everyone hanging out. I have some pretty exciting things on the way. I don't know when they're exactly going to drop, but I do have some cool videos coming up soon. I've enjoyed all the videos I've been making on Mondays. For the few out there, I know most people are Pokemon. I've let it slip quite a bit on MetaZoo videos. I will have a MetaZoo video, a couple of them coming in April. I probably won't get to it before the end of the month though. Tax time, all the crazy things that are going on. But I do have a good MetaZoo video coming, and I have the MetaZoo native release mid-April. So I will be getting back into some MetaZoo content in April. But I have some pretty exciting Pokemon stuff and different kind of videos. One different kind of video that you might not be expecting, wouldn't have expected you'd see, a little bit higher production value. So I don't know when it's going to drop, but I'm really excited for that. And I'm just excited for a lot of things going on in 2023. And I appreciate that everyone's here along for the ride. How much do you think your work history of chemical engineering and education/training up until you quit to be full-time Pokemon has helped you in your Pokemon business? It's very hard to say. I've always been very math and science. I've always been very spreadsheet. I think I've always been like a very logical person. My education in engineering reinforced, deepened, broadened that knowledge. And I actually did I did a little bit, like it wasn't an MBA, but it was they called it a master's. It was MSEM, Masters of Science in Engineering Management. So it was a special program. I got my master's like 3 years ago. Like my final year of working for my job, I graduated and got my master's. I think a lot of that stuff, like just kind of MBA related, business related, not all of it applies, but some amount of it helped. What percent, how much, like no idea. It's impossible to say, but I think some of that stuff does help my engineer brain in optimizing and deciding which ways to go. But yeah, I think that's my last one. Let's see. Ying Yang Twins or Vanilla Ice? None of them. Please, no concerts. I say MetaZoo, basic drops the eyes. Yeah, looks like I'm caught up in chat. I appreciate you all watching. With that, I'm going to wrap up for the day. Sorry if I missed your questions. I think I got to all of them. But yeah, I appreciate you guys as always. I will